A reading from Matthew chapter 4, verses 12 through 23. Now when Jesus heard that John had been arrested, he withdrew to Galilee. He left Nazareth and made his home in Capernaum by the sea in the territory of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that what had been spoken through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Land of Zebulun, land of Naphtali, on the road by the sea across the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light, and for those who sat in the region and shadow of death, light has dawned. From that time, Jesus began to proclaim, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near." As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said to them, "Follow me. I will make you a fisher of people." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. Jesus went throughout all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and curing every disease and every sickness among the people. The good news for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Good morning, beautiful people of God. I'm Claire McKeever-Burgett, and I'm delighted to get to be here with you this morning, even across a screen. Thank you to Courtney for inviting me to preach with you today, and thank you to you for your gracious welcome. Thank you, too, for being a faithful witness to the good news of Jesus that reminds us again and again that love is always and ever the way. Now, without further ado, let's settle in and down, place both feet on the ground, settle our shoulders away from our ears. Take a few deep breaths in and out as we welcome the Spirit of the living God and of the saints, so many of them women, whose names we know and whose names we haven't yet learned, that they might stir in us a deeper, softer, truer love for ourselves, others, and the whole wide world. Healer of our every ill, light of each tomorrow, give us peace beyond our fear and hope beyond our sorrow. Do you know that I was born in the dark of the night? There might have been a fire burning near to keep us warm. There might have been a candle burning so the midwives could see how to help my mother push. But it was nighttime. Make no mistake. There in the back corner of a barn, my mama pushed me into this world with groans and aches and pains. Her body broke wide open long before mine ever would. Mama wrote to me when I was older, telling me of the dark, illuminating night she gave birth to me. Dark hair, dark eyes, she wrote. Whoever said there is no light in the darkness? Because you illuminated that night with your darkness, and I began to see that making our way in the dark is all there ever is. I began to see darkness as beautiful. You taught me this, dear one. You. I held that letter close to my heart as I traveled from town to town preaching the good news of love, as I continued to sleep in dark corners under dark skies, as I rocked on dark waves and dark sea waters, as I whispered pleading prayers just before dawn, begging God to save us. We make our way in the dark, she said. Darkness is beautiful, she proclaimed. Centuries prior, the prophet Isaiah preached something similar, though many in the years afterward took it to mean that darkness was bad and light was good. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light, Isaiah preached. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. Apparently, Isaiah was talking about me, Jesus. The idea that I would come into this world to elucidate what was hidden and unseen. The idea that I myself would be the blaze that would forge a new way forward. The idea that I would be the radiance that everyone would need. Isaiah was not wrong. When my mama Mary birthed me into this world, something most certainly shined. But what shined wasn't only me, nor was it to speak ill of the darkness. Instead, what illuminated that night was a communion of light and dark, a friendship of what could be seen and unseen, a celebration of a dark night without which we'd see no light in the first place. What shined was my mama, without whom I wouldn't be here. Perhaps that night God was trying to remind all of us what my mama learned long ago. Making our way in the dark is all there ever is. When I first approached Peter, Andrew, James, and John, inviting them to join me in a ministry of love, in a revolution of heart, mind, body, and spirit, it was early in the morning and still very, very dark. The sun was not even peeking over the horizon. The moon was hidden by a cloud. The stars were bleak. These men were fishermen by trade, learning from an early age how to make their way in the dark. They knew instinctively where to place the nets and how to tie and untie a knot, preparing the boat for their pre-dawn labor. I'm not convinced they initially saw my face, only that they heard my voice. "Come, follow me," I said. "I will make you fishers of people." I didn't mean for them to leave their nets immediately. I was simply using poetry to make a point. I didn't want to make my way in the dark alone. I knew I needed and wanted others with me to create a way of love. I knew from my mama that making a way in the dark was much easier and kinder with others. So together we began to make a way, preaching, teaching, sharing, healing. But it's not as if we left the work of fishing, the work of seeing in the dark, completely behind. We still needed to eat, after all, as evidenced by the stories of me walking on water and calming the storm raging over the sea. Yes, the fishermen taught me how to fish in the dark, because that's when it was quiet, and the fish were more likely to take the bait. That's when our work and our ministry became one. Dark waters, dark skies, nothing but our intuition to find our way. And I taught the fishermen a thing or two about returning to their roots, remembering the teachings of old, and seeing and feeling the divine in every breath they took. What I was preaching was not new. Feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, healing the sick, blessing the peacemakers, all of these teachings existed in the Torah. I simply came to point back to what the Holy One had already revealed. I simply came to illuminate what had already been illuminated. When I was 10, my mama sat me down and said, "Jesus, I'm going to teach you a thing or two about the dark." It was a statement, not a question. I didn't have an option of whether to listen or not, so I nodded, pretending to be curious about what she had to say. "The dark is where life is born," she said. "The dark is where we can see light most clearly. It's where we can learn to walk and where we often discover our truest selves. The dark is where we say no and where we transform and grow. The dark doesn't tiptoe around the truth. The dark tells it like it is. In the dark," she said, "there's no need for validation or approval. The dark lets you be just as you are." "Okay," I said slowly, "but why are you telling me this? Why does it matter to me?" With a soft laugh, she reached her hand to touch my face. "Sweet child, I'm telling you this because you will face dark, dismal times. And in those places, I want you to look for the healing that's happening even and especially there." But the dark is so scary sometimes, I said to her, my eyes wide with fear and wonder both. Oh, sure it is, she agreed. When we can't see where we're going, whether we're about to walk off the edge of a cliff, whether our roots will take hold in the ground and grow, whether a wolf lurks behind us and our flock, that's scary stuff. I'm not trying to say the dark can't be scary. I'm just trying to say it doesn't always have to be. I'm with you here today, beloveds, and I know our reality feels ominous and scary. I know we're searching for some kind of light, some kind of answer, some kind of way, because our neighbors are being killed by our government, because our children are being terrorized by the state, both of which are supposed to be for and by the very people they harm. I see and feel us here together in the dark, and I know we are tempted to think it's terrifying and all-consuming, that we will never again see what we long to see, that we will never again feel what we long to feel. Safety, love, beauty, strength, freedom for everyone. But if my dark hair, dark eyes, dark face can illuminate a night with their darkness, then so can we. We can embrace and embody the darkness and the light both. We can shine no matter where we find ourselves. After all, the Underground Railroad that led thousands of enslaved people to freedom could only exist in the dark of night. People could only be saved when they couldn't be seen. Even the psalmist singing her glorious 27th song says, "For the divine will hide me in shelter in my day of trouble. The Holy One will conceal me under the cover of a tent." The Holy One will conceal me under the cover of darkness. The Holy One will make a way in the dark. My mama knew more about darkness and light than anyone I ever knew. She would rise every morning long before dawn to pray in the dark. She would kneel at her bedside each night praying to God in the dark. She knew she needed darkness in order to give birth. She knew we needed darkness in order to see what could only be seen in the shadows. So on this holy day, in this holy hour, when darkness and light mingle in the universe, begging us to embrace both, might we take another's hand? Might we sing an old song? Might we turn our faces toward what is true and make our way in the dark as our ancestors always have? We live in scary times, beloveds. We live in times that call for love. We live in times that call for light. We live in times that call for darkness. May it be our work, our dedication, our faith in the God of the universe, the light beyond all light, the dark beyond all dark, that makes a way of love, whether we can see it clearly or not. Together, like my mama said, we will make our way in the dark, because that's all there ever has been, is, and will be when we follow the way of love. Healer of our every ill, light of each tomorrow, give us peace beyond our fear and hope beyond our sorrow. Amen.